huge libertarian governor, Chris Christie, right?
Yep.
Who?
Used to be. Yeah.
He wasn't a libertarian.
I don't know. I made
No,
that
he
part up.
was.
But he was huge.
He was
Yeah.
huge, regardless. So it's funny because we had a guy in our church. He went on to do a podcast for some other stuff, and he's like, "Hey, do me a favor, like listen to it after and see how I did. Some of the things I can work on." I'm thinking, you got the wrong guy, dude. But at one point they started talking about their guns. I said, "Whoa, hey, dude, you got a little too close to mentioning exactly how many guns you have."
Yeah.
So I said, if you ever get back on there, you got to mention the boating accident.
Boating, yes.
Like
Yeah.
you got to clear that up. Now, here's what I will tell you. I was talking with somebody, was it yesterday? And I said, listen, I don't mind every now and then buying one on the books. Because they know how to conceal carry. They know it's there. So if you don't have anything, they're going to be like, wait a minute. This guy doesn't, he has all this stuff. He doesn't have any guns at all. No, every now and then you sprinkle one in there and go, you bought another gun. We're good.
Is also you got to buy the ones that can penetrate level 4 plates so that the feds got a little more respect on your name.
Put some respect on money. That's why you get
those are the ones you make them see that, right? They're like, hey, here's the one.
Now, I like an AR platform and 50 Beowulf.
Yeah.
I heard of somebody, I don't know them personally. I heard of somebody who purchased a rifle in a Waffle House parking lot. And listen, somewhat admirable, to be honest with you. I don't care what anybody says. That guy was a smart guy. And
I bought one in a Walmart parking lot. It was perfectly legal in Florida then.
Well, if there's anywhere you need a rifle, it's definitely at the Waffle House.
For real.
Especially
or the Walmart on Lim Turner.
We don't even go to that one. Listen, the Waffle House actually puts a thing. Y'all see where you're not supposed to have guns in the Waffle House? There's no weapons.
What?
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Gonna have to quit going there.
That's what I'm saying.
Have to go to the huddle house.
You got to take it because listen, I truly believe that when you go to get a job at Waffle House, part of the application asks if you can fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you can't fight, you ain't getting a job there. So you got to be ready. I'm 52. I'm not fighting.
Yeah, and we're going for a dinner and a show. You know what I mean?
Right. You didn't know you was getting the show. It pops off.
All right.
All right.
That being said, great way into. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Well, I'll go ahead.
If there's a Waffle House in Minnesota. Yeah. Maybe we can find out.
We are going to the great. Is the great Upper Midwest? Is that what you would properly call it?
Never been up that far.
I think so.
I have. I've been to Wisconsin.
Well, yeah, I did go to
stood out a little bit.
Wisconsin. Where's that at?
I don't know. At any rate, we're going to the great state of Minnesota today, and on this show we like to bring you great libertarians because me being the only real libertarian, I find it difficult to carry this load by myself, and so.
I feel like you just fought with yourself. You said we'd like to bring you great libertarians. I'm the only real libertarian.
Yeah.
I don't think those go together.
Yeah,
you admitted that there are other libertarians, and then unless you're saying all the others are fake libertarians.
No, they're struggling. They're trying to grasp the great knowledge that I have with the libertarian movement, and I'm bringing them along. They're like my Padawans. You know what I'm saying?
Do you feel like you're being successful?
Yes. And we're going to bring you a great libertarian tonight out of the great state of Minnesota that is currently running for Senate for her second time. Without further ado, Mrs. Rebecca. How you doing tonight?
How's it going?
I'm doing good. How about you guys? Actually, I know how you guys are doing. I've just been listening for like the last however long it's been.
7 minutes and 30 seconds.
That's where we're at. Ask her how long does it feel? Feels way longer than 8 minutes.
Yeah.
I was gonna be Minnesota nice, but
listen.
Well, I appreciate that.
With us, I wouldn't waste it. I would just let it fly. And what is Minnesota nice?
Honest?
What's that?
What is Minnesota nice?
It's super passive aggressive.
You say, well, don't you know?
Well, I think that's Canadian.
I thought "Don't You Know" was Minnesota.
It's Minnesota, Wisconsin, Canadian. Yeah, but
Okay.
I'm originally from New Orleans, so I haven't brought myself
Orleans.
to use "Don't you know." I only say it if I'm poking fun at all the people around me. So
Awesome.
Can you give us some New Orleans though? Are you trying
I
to
could,
dial
but
that?
it comes out a little better if I'm angry.
All right.
Oh,
Now,
give it
let
time.
me-
Watch. We'll let Marcus go first.
It'll happen
And then
naturally.
That's
So-
all it takes.
Let me ask you this: how's the gumbo in Minnesota?
It's so bad, so bad.
Is that your way of getting her mad?
Yeah.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep poking a little bit. Yeah.
Where do you buy your crawfish from?
I don't because it's terrible.
It's all
Everything is terrible,
I know.
And
and that's why she's running is to change Minnesota so they get some quality gumbo, and you know some.
Reroute
That's my entire
the bayou.
platform is just to go from whatever this hot dish stuff is to real food.
Hot
Awesome.
dip stuff. Is that a Minnesota thing?
Hot dish is a Minnesotan thing. Yeah.
All right.
What
can you
is it?
explain? This is like it's a foreign country. Can you explain this to us? Is it
Hot
just
dish is
hot food?
basically a casserole. You just whatever you throw in a pot, you stick it in a 9x13 and put it in the oven for a little bit, and they call it a hot dish.
Wait, we got a comment from Stars 33D77, and that's a great point. The Mississippi River starts off up there in Minnesota,
Yeah.
so there's no excuse for you not being able to get some
Everyone
gumbo.
knows there's some good crawdads in the Mississippi River.
I actually live just about a mile from like a place where you could put in on the Mississippi River. And the lake where the river starts it takes us about 30 minutes to get to drive there. But then then there's the lake, and then the river curves upwards about 80 miles and then starts back down south. So it actually goes north for a little bit, and I live on the most northern point of it.
Awesome.
So how far are you from Canada?
Less than 100 miles.
Oh, all right. So listen, when all the stuff was going on up there, I suggested that we just give Minnesota to Canada. I was like, just let them have it. Let's just be done with it. We have to deal with it.
Why
anymore.
Minnesota? Like, we give them Washington.
I was trying to get
Hey.
in California at the same time. Like, we'll just throw in California.
Yeah,
But it
just
just gets
because.
weird, you know.
Imagine. Think
And actually,
Canada would be the
think
fourth
Canada
largest
didn't even want
economy.
California.
All right, so Eric, proceed.
All right, Rebecca. So I usually ask this question, get us started. We're already 10 minutes in. So when did you first decide, I guess make the decision, or your aha moment that you realized that you're a libertarian? And when did you decide to join the Libertarian Party?
$17,000 from
Man,
what
I hear
most people would
audio in the
call a
background.
little fender bender. And it
What is
wasn't
that?
my friend got
Oh, hold on, my bad.
Marcus, what are you doing?
You're doing another podcast
Marcus.
at the same time.
Marcus.
My bad. My bad. I was trying to
Technical-
do
trying to
all my
find
live
her-
stuff.
Trying to find her campaign videos. All right, sorry that
no.
I interrupted. When did
Yeah.
you realize you were a libertarian? When did you decide to join the Libertarian Party? And what made you decide to run for office?
Oh, all right. Well, there's a loaded question because
It is.
for me, it was I joined the Libertarian Party really as like a point of resignation. So I am an Iraq War veteran, and I served 2 tours in Iraq during 2004 campaign and the 2006 campaign that included Battle of Fallujah, surge in Baghdad as a combat medic. And so like I was very young when I did that. And there was never a point in my own politics where I wasn't just angry at the system. You know, like there was never a point where I believed that the politicians had the answer for normal people because of what I went through in Iraq. And so I got out of the Army in 2007. I had served almost over 7 years and got out after my second deployment. Really, it was just like the deployments were there was a time period of healing that I needed to go through after I got out. And I just, from there, I got very political, but I got political in the sense that I was super black-pilled from the beginning. And then in 2020, all the lockdowns happened. Minnesota was definitely caught up in some of the more draconian lockdowns. And, you weren't allowed to leave your house. You weren't allowed to go eat in public. You weren't allowed to do anything. Like they literally had security at the grocery stores checking people. And it was then that I realized that I hated government so much that I started calling myself just a full-blown anarchist. And that to me was a point of realization when I realized that I was an anarchist and that it was the government that at every turn, right? And at every turn was the problem. It always originates with the government. And that was 2020. In 21, it turned into more, if I didn't do something with the anger, I was kind of starting to get the anger was starting to be destructive, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Especially having come out of Iraq, which still like 20 years later has this way of just kind of rearing its ugly head when you don't expect it, And so came out of that 21, I saw like on Facebook, it was a social media post for the ATF, in fact. And on the social media post, I saw this group, and they were like, the ATF was, celebrating the agents and memorializing their death during Waco. And I was like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. Like, this isn't, why is this, because at a point you're like, is this satire? Are they serious? And so I clicked on it and I started reading, and there was just like what I know now is being called ratioed, and by libertarian groups. And I was like, I thought libertarians were like these just kind of,
say it.
Yeah.
Say it.
Limp-wristed, weak-willed people that just didn't know anything about what was going on in reality. They just and I saw what happened during the lockdowns and COVID and everything. It was not as radical as I wanted it to be. It was not as far as I wanted people to go. And I wanted people that were on the right and the left of me going basically into the front lines of the battles that I could count on not to just give in and fall back the harder it got, because it's going to get harder before it gets better. Right. And I wanted that. And so then I saw this and I was like, I reached out, or actually somebody reached out to me, and because I joined like a group or something, and they're like, hey, you're in Minnesota. And I was like, but there's no Libertarian Party in Minnesota. I wasn't aware of any presence whatsoever. And I got in touch with another friend. I was like, how do we start something here? And then I learned that there is actually a party in Minnesota, but it's centralized down in the metro. And I live in rural Minnesota, started a group up here in rural Minnesota, a group that still exists, and just got involved that way. Cause like I said, it was the anger was getting destructive. And, I have kids now, and I want there to be a future for them, not like one that I experienced, you know what I mean? So, got involved. Somebody reached out to me in 23 and said, hey, we need somebody to run for US Senate. They started going through a list of names. They were like, and I was kind of helping them brainstorm. And the guy on the phone was like, actually, you're the right candidate for this job. And I was like, you've got the wrong person. Like, I'm not, I'll do the background work and I'll, help you guys with things. But like being the face of something, I have gone out of my way to be a gray person, this is not me. You've got the wrong person. And then he told me that it would be Amy Klobuchar's seat that we would be, that was up for election. And Amy Klobuchar in 2006 built her US Senate career on criticism of the Iraq War, and then turned around and voted for every single pro-military measure since then. In 2006, I had boots on ground in Baghdad doing QRF missions, working out of a truck, and pulling dead bodies out of vehicles. That's literally what I was doing for my job. And she was capitalizing on what we were going through to further her political career. And that pissed me off. So I said, yes, so it just kind of went from there.
Right. So you're one of 2 states that have technically had a libertarian governor with Jesse the Body Ventura, right?
He wasn't registered
Kind of.
libertarian then, was he?
Yeah,
But
he's more independent.
yeah.
He's got some very pro-government kind of positions.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, he
And-
was definitely third party though.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
other one being New Mexico. We haven't had anybody on from New Mexico, but I'm glad we're in the upper Midwest, because I've never met a jerk from the Midwest. And what I can say is I know for sure that Tub is not from the Midwest.
No, because you said you haven't met a jerk from there.
Yeah.
So clearly, I'm not from the upper Midwest.
And now, not to say there's never been a jerk in the Midwest. Marcus did say he went to Wisconsin.
You just say you've been.
Wait, hold on, Eric. I was clearly bashing Tub, and you want to jump in and get us
Thank you, Eric.
back.
I appreciate that.
Off the top rope spow.
Yeah. All right.
Jesse the
Rebecca-
Body. Listen, that's the way to bring it back again, Eric. Well done.
It's called a callback. All right, go ahead, Tub.
Okay. All right. So I already had a couple questions down, but as of what you said, I want to ask you something. First, not that hard. How do you define anarchist? Because you called yourself one.
Mhm.
So how do you define that? And which actually might lead into my other questions. You can answer them at the same time if you want.
Yeah.
What are you finding as running as a libertarian? There's naturally hindrances and stuff like that. So what are you finding along those lines? So maybe you can answer both those together.
Sure. So I define an anarchist as somebody that just rejects the rulers of another person. Like I have the autonomy and the sovereignty of myself, and absolutely nobody has any authority over me whatsoever. And that if you want that for yourself, you get that for yourself too. Like that's just the way it is. I reject the idea that another person who doesn't have your best interest in mind could have any authority over you as a person. I just do.
So are you? Look, I said I was going to let you go, and then I don't. So in that, do you find that a struggle? Because if you present that, somebody's going to go, then why are you running? Because you're acting to be the person that you say we shouldn't have.
Because even if I reject that, there is people that do strive for being rulers and authoritarians over other people. And so that's this like kind of this catch-22 of humanity. Like, so there's various things of humans that I think that in one side, because on a spectrum, like on one side are very.
Why you say spectrum? We're talking libertarians. All right, let's be very clear.
But it is. That's like. On one side, you have people that want and are willing to and are able. That's another part of it. Like wanting to have authority over yourself and actually being able to exercise it in a way that you thrive within that environment is it's two different set of circumstances, right? But then you have people that are not only not capable of being able to have authority and responsibility over yourself, but also strive to give up their responsibility to somebody else to be in charge of them and to rule over them. And so you constantly have this conflict within humanity of recognizing somebody that wants the freedom of themselves and somebody that doesn't, but then uses their unwillingness to be responsible to give it to somebody else. But then those people often want to be authoritarians over everybody, right?
Yeah, I say, the ones that they decide tend not to fit in very well. They don't serve us well.
No,
right.
It's completely, there is no way that those two types of people can coexist. So there's this constant, human condition, I think, that battles between one or the other. The reason that I am running for office is that because if people like myself who reject that authority don't do something to keep the people who would take it, who should be least able, they're going to use it badly. And they're going to use it badly broadly or to everybody. If the people like myself don't do something to keep them at bay, then they just get free reign over everybody. And we know what the result of that will be. It'll be, crushing economy. It'll be, crushing regulation. It'll be lasting forever wars. It'll be people that don't, you've just given up everything, or they've taken it. And now, because there's so few of you left that would use your freedom, that you can't do anything to stop the people that want to take it away. Right. So we have to, it's people like that, myself, that believe this. We imperatively must do something to make the ruling class, the ones that should not be the authority, to hold them back. And so I know I'm not going to run a campaign on anarchism. That's
Right.
you can't do that.
No, right.
But what I can do is that I can really highlight the way that the ruling class has used their authority and made life worse for us, or at the very least more difficult. And I think right now that's kind of actually pretty easy. I mean, if you filled up your car at the gas station, you're feeling it right now. Or if you've gotten groceries, you're feeling it. So,
well, I think you just made the best argument on why the Department of Education should be abolished, because public education is producing these drones that are just simply afraid to step. I call it the pendulum of stupidity. And because, right now it's swinging over towards the right, and you're seeing the same damn thing that everybody was pissed off about with George W. Bush, as far as foreign policy and everything that's going on. After the pendulum of stupidity was on the left with Biden and the lockdowns and the mandates and all of that stuff. And now Americans are, hey, I don't like what he's doing. Let's give these other idiots another shot. And, to me, it's public education. Quick shout out to Amity. She asked, how's her favorite libertarian? I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. And we cannot produce this show without the great Joe Hanush.
And then we could, but it wouldn't be as good.
It wouldn't be as good. He's like, I don't know why y'all got to call out my public education. I think we all, if you're a libertarian and you went to a public school, you are not the intended product of the public education system. I will say that much.
I graduated from a high school in Mississippi.
Well, there you go.
Same thing. Right. Got it.
Well, I mean, what are they, 47th or 48th in education?
Yeah, I mean, that might be as good as it gets, honestly.
Was it them who just bypassed California? Was it California?
For what?
For education?
No, California is in the middle somewhere. But it's Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi are typically 47, 48, and 49.
No, Alabama's probably in there someplace too.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up. All right, so real quick.
Tubb is from Connecticut. I think they're 50.
Listen, if you think I'm going to sit here and say, not me, and defend the government school system, absolutely not. All right, so Rebecca, as you're out there, because like Eric and I have left the garage and we've gone out, we've run for office.
Wow.
And so we understand that we've been through some of the things of saying, trying to, first off, sometimes just to explain.
And technically, I'm back in the garage.
Oh, you are in the, are you in the garage, Eric?
Technically.
So I got to start setting up in the garage also?
Yes,
to be part
I
of
am.
the show?
But go ahead. Sorry.
So,
yep,
as you're going out there, I know you said this is your second time now.
We get sidetracked.
I'm still doing a show here. I don't know what you guys got going on. You brought her on here for a reason. All right.
Yeah.
Now
there's the donate link. Give her some money too. We'll get to that part, but there you go, Tubb.
I don't want to do it now. So, what are you finding are some hindrances as running for a libertarian?
Right. Immediately, like out the door, it's ballot access. Minnesota does not get ballot access. As a third-party candidate, we have to petition to get on the ballot. Petitioning is a sprint because we have to get, so minimum we need to get 2,000 signatures per statewide race. And this is a statewide race, right? So realistically, we need to get closer to 2,500 because the Secretary of State's office, they're Democrats, so, they're shady. And they're going to, they go line by line to make sure that all the signatures and addresses and everything that we turn in are legit. They don't just accept them. They, have the authority if they want to not accept it. So we need to make sure that we give them more than what they're asking for so that even when they do take things off, that we can still overcome that 2,000 plus. That, however, we only get 2 weeks to do that. So when we come out the, gate and start petitioning, 14 days. We got to have that turned in person in St. Paul in Minnesota to the Secretary of State's office.
What's
That is
the
ridiculous.
reason for that? 'Cause I know, isn't it New
That's
York?
ridiculous.
I think it's similar to that. Some other states are similar. You only get this window.
Yeah.
Why is that? What do they say is the
Oh,
reason?
well, it gets better. So actually, anybody that runs for office can petition to get on the ballot. And then the major parties, they can petition instead of paying the filing fee. The filing fee to get on the ballot is $400. So if they don't want to pay the $400, they can petition. Do you know how much time they get to petition? It's like 6 months.
If you're
so it's
Republican or
just
Democrat,
third parties.
Yep. It's
Can
just
you do
third
the-
parties, the
but you
same
can't
amount
do
of
the-
signatures, but only 2 weeks.
But you can't do the $400 and just get on.
Nope. We are not allowed to just pay the money and get on.
That is a state that is keeping the system rigged. Where is
Oh, yeah.
ours when we need them?
In
Yeah.
2023, they raised the minor party threshold to make sure that if you are a third party candidate, or if you are a third party, because it used to be if you could get your party could get a statewide candidate over 5% in a race, then you had automatic ballot access. We had 2 marijuana parties in the state that consistently got 5% plus in the statewide races that they ran. And that's just, really like marketing on their name. They never had anybody but a paper candidate. There wasn't anybody that was actually like making marijuana legal was their whole thing. That was it. But they always got 5% or more on the ballot. And so in 2023, the Republicans and the Democrats worked together to raise the minor party threshold from 5% to 8%, making it so that, it's basically an insurmountable hurdle for anybody that's a third party at this point.
So you run a real risk of not qualifying.
Yeah. So that was why I ran. And so in 2024, we had to have somebody that was running a statewide race, because if we didn't get somebody that made that 1% threshold, we were going to lose our political party status in Minnesota. That was the risk, right? So when somebody reached out to me and was like, hey, we want you to do this, it really we had to have somebody do this race. And so we ran it. And not only did we get the 1% in a federal race that no Libertarian Party of Minnesota candidate has ever overcome in a federal race for U.S. Senate, by the way, but we got almost 2%. We broke records with how many votes we got in that race. And so we're kind of, and a lot of things have changed since then, right? The political climate in Minnesota has just become very hostile, I would say, hostile towards the major parties, because they've created an environment that allows things like Operation Metro Surge to happen in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Minnesota has made national news for the amount of fraud that they found in the state, which is millions and millions, might be billions of dollars at this point, because it's so bad. And it's like, this was business as usual until it started to, they made it come to the light, and the Republicans and the Democrats have worked together to create this environment, So also this is the thing, the Republicans aren't even trying to win in Minnesota. They're not even trying. There is evidence that Representative Tom Emmer, who's Congressional District 6 representative and the Republican whip in DC, he worked with the Minnesota GOP chair to create shell company in Wyoming, which can be anonymous, to funnel GOP donations out of state to the shell company that turned around and literally funded Democrats in Minnesota. The GOP, and then got caught. And the GOP chair, he's gone. They got rid of him, but Emmer still has his seats. He also ran Trump's campaign in Minnesota. So you can't look at this situation and be like, oh no, the Republicans, they are absolutely the people that are going to put up a resistance to the Democrats in Minnesota. No, they work for the Democrats in Minnesota. And so people that are like looking for alternatives and reject the uniparty, there's a pretty big opening right now for third party growth in Minnesota.
I truly believe that sometimes, and it's kind of what you're saying, the Republicans and the Democrats intentionally work together. That I think there's times where they go, here, you can have this one, we'll take one over here. And they do this trade-off. It just, and it's all a game for them.
Yeah, well, because they make millions doing it. Why would they quit? There's no incentive for them to stop, and there's nobody left to resist because they've changed the laws, like our ballot access situation. They have capitalized on their positions to keep people from ruining their game. That's what they've done.
I often say that everybody's libertarian until it's time to vote. Because they all end up staying in their party. I'm sure you see that. They can be angry right now, but when it comes into it, they're going to stay into their things. So
they buy into the lie that they're wasting their vote for third-party candidates. But I don't think that that's true this time around. I think that people are so mad because of everything that's happened. And I think the worse the war in Iran gets, the worse the price of gas gets every time you fill up your tank, the higher the cost your groceries are, and the more the economy tanks, people are going to be more willing to look for some alternative. I really believe that this time around, especially considering how well we did last time, that this time around, we very well could get 8 to 10% of the vote. And if we can get 8 to 10% of the vote, that makes us a major contender. But if we can get that much of the vote, then it doesn't take much to push somebody from 10% of the vote to winning the race. Because in a race that's just three candidates wide, you don't have to get 50 plus to win. But also I know that from third party, like kind of coordination behind the scenes, there very well could be no other minor parties on the ballot this time around. And last time there was. We weren't the only minor party candidate on the ballot last time. But this time it could very well just be the two major parties and myself.
And that's what I was looking at, the Ballotpedia for your last racer. And the other third party candidate got 1.5%. You got 1.7. So if they don't qualify, you'd likely get that. That gets you over 3%, which doesn't meet the threshold, but as poor as things are going, you could probably get 2.5% from both sides, left and the right. I got a question to Marcus. If you could put her link up for her website, either donate link or just the homepage. But is the signature requirement the same this election as it was for qualifying in 24?
Yes.
Is that still the same? So how did your campaign and or the Minnesota Libertarian Party help y'all get those signatures? And or you said you started a group up in where the area you live in Minnesota. How'd y'all go about getting those 2,000 plus signatures last time? And do you think it's going to be easier or harder this time? And how can libertarians help y'all make sure you qualify?
So circumstances are a little different this time. And I'm actually the chair of the state party also.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah. Wearing a couple of hats right now. So last time around, I had a group of about 45 people that actively help petition to be able to get all those signatures. We will not be, because, if you know anything about the National Libertarian and going-ons and that kind of stuff, the National Convention is right in the middle of our petitioning window.
Wow.
So if you look over at the Minnesota delegates table, you're going to find that it's a little empty. And that's going to be because that almost everybody is staying behind this national convention to help petition instead of going to the national convention. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
I might end up going to the national convention to speak, but it's not as a delegate. It'll be just, drive in, speak, drive out kind of a situation, and hopefully get some allies while I'm there. That's kind of what I'm shooting for. So, this time around also, we have 3 statewide candidates, not just myself. So we also have a Secretary of State candidate. We have an auditor candidate. Our Secretary of State candidate is Chip Tangen. He's going to be campaigning on lack of ballot access for minor parties. He's helped write some legislation that actually got authors in both the Senate and the House this last legislative session. It didn't go very far, didn't make it to committee because the legislation in Minnesota is not one of cooperation. So that's, but we're trying different avenues besides just running candidates. So we're also trying to fight this legislatively. We're also trying to fight this through legal action, that kind of stuff. So that's all on the table. Our auditor candidate is Charlie Kuklins. He is an IT guy. So he built a website from scratch, because he can do that helps kind of be a central place for all government transactions across the state that are used to like fund municipalities, basically. And he's got a website where all those transactions, so that anybody can go and like see it completely transparently at any point in time without having to do a FOIA request, right? Which takes time. So it's just like at the tip of your fingers, you can look up any city, any township or whatever and see where they're spending your tax dollars. And that's what he's running on. So because they're both statewide candidates also, so we need 2,500 for myself, for Charlie, and then another 2,500 for Chip. So it actually comes out to be 7,500 this time around.
And here's what happens. People will hear that and go, well, good, that's easier, because that way there you'll just get them signed. But a lot of times if somebody's filling out a petition, they're not going to stand around to fill out two other ones at the same time.
Right. Yeah. So we have teams that are separate for all the candidates that aren't, because the likelihood you might get somebody to sign the first petition. And my success rate of like talking to somebody into signing my petition was about 9 out of 10.
That's good.
Trying to get them to sign the second petition, a little harder. Trying to get them to sign the third petition, on your clipboard, even harder. So each of our candidates have their own teams going into petitioning that will be working independently for the candidate that they have committed to.
I think the messaging, though, this time around should be a little bit easier due to the dire state. The politicians are going to say, oh, yeah, the Dow hit 50,000 again. I don't give a crap about none of that.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though, is that people don't understand the economics if they think the Dow hitting 50,000 is a good thing, right? Because the stock market has this rubber band effect. I mean, if a Dow at 50,000 comes crashing down, which I think is very likely that it could, if you're a 250-pound man, you're going to hit the ground a lot harder than you are a 50-pound kid. You know what I mean? Yeah. So when I think about the economic future, even in the next 6 to 9 months of the United States, it's not looking super positive at the moment.
Yeah, so that's the messaging. Tub, real quick, I want to get to this question from Joe. How do voters in Minnesota reach out to the MNLP to help? So on our website, it's actually lpmn.org. We have a donation link, and anybody can go and donate. And right now, every donation is going towards ballot access. We have set aside a certain amount of money that the LPMN is committed to helping pay for petitioning. So that's something that we are actively working on. But anybody that we're only 2 states over from Michigan. So if anybody feels like, on their way home from the national conventions, just wants to drop into Minneapolis, we would love your help, so. We have definitely places people could stay, that kind of thing, that wanted to come and help petition. But lpn.org for donations.
I'm trying to hijack the plane that's heading south, and I can just see if it'll head over. And
you just take your parachute, jump out the side door. It's fine.
Just give me clove. I'll run the race. No, I'm not running at all. That's a lie also. So here's the thing. So what you had said, and in comparison to what I said, because you said people don't understand a lot of times the economics of things. Mm-hmm. And then on your website, of course, we're libertarians, so we mentioned in the Fed. But let me ask you this, because like you said, sometimes people don't care. They're not thinking about those things. It's more of what is my gas? What am I paying for food? Stuff along those lines. But what are you finding? Because I think Eric and I both went through this. We can have our issues, especially as libertarians. We have our issues. But those aren't always the ones that are hitting with the people. And so are you when you're going out and about, are you just still at the point of, hey, you didn't do petitions yet? So as you're out and about, what are you finding that the people are like, hey, here's my problem? And then when they present that, what is your answer for that?
I think that just, and this is kind of just naturally who I am too. Like I come from, I'm a mom, so like I've got kids. I've actually got a large family, and I have worked in the community. Like I don't want to say my specialty, but kind of like my real passion is food security, local foods. I mean, we have a farm, like I've worked on writing legislation and trying to get it through, the committees and that kind of stuff to help, raw milk access, deregulating farming and agriculture, those kinds of things. I've been on the board for our farmers market, I think for 13 years now. So, no small thing. So this is what I do in my free time. And food is like this common point that everybody cares about, like everybody needs to eat 3 meals a day. And so I think that when I talk to people, it doesn't matter if it's right or left, like you have your foodies that are just kind of universal. They're across the board. And so especially when people are like, oh, you have a farm, and they're like, oh, you're a mom. Oh, you homeschool. Because we do, it's like, just kind of wholesome feeling, I guess. And so I can talk to people in a way that, they totally let their guard down, and they kind of just talk to me, tell me what they're thinking, their families, how their, mom and dad are doing, and their aunts and uncles and all that kind of stuff, like that's just the way it is. I have a farmer's market booth, which starts during this petitioning window. Which is actually an asset for me because I get a lot of signatures at the farmer's market because I have a booth. But, like it's kind of become a hub where people can they come, they know me, and they just talk about things.
So what are you finding is their top issue? Like, what are they kind of like, hey?
Just the struggles of normal life, man. It's just, that's what it is. It's just, like I come from a low income area. People are having a hard time affording their basic things. They can't afford these new cars they're pumping out, but we also can't find old ones. They can't afford their housing. They have kids that are, hitting 18, 20 years old, but can't move out of their house because nobody can afford the rent. And even if they could, there's not places to go. Like these are very basic things that, especially living in a state like Minnesota, this is the long-term effects of regulating a market to death.
So do you think some of those issues could be handled better locally, but you're running nationally? Well, for a national office, technically.
Well, yeah, it's a statewide office, but it is federal in that a lot of agriculture is a federal issue. The USDA takes a lot of authority that they shouldn't be allowed to have. And the Minnesota Department of Agriculture also takes even more than the USDA does. And there's like whole pockets of the agriculture in the market where you absolutely cannot build a business at all or get into farming. And we're on like the verge of having a crisis on our hands because you don't have younger people getting into agriculture. And the average age of a farmer is like 56.
Right up there with Tubb.
Isn't
right
Travis
up there with Tubb.
Johnson up there? Is he in Minnesota?
Who?
Travis Johnson?
Oh, yeah, I know him. I actually talked to him today on the phone.
Good. Okay, I think, have you found a way to incorporate him? Because he was somewhat effective.
He's on my campaign team, absolutely.
Good, okay.
He's actually the person when I was like, hey, how do we get a libertarian group started up north? He's the one that gave me the information, and he was part of like our group starting out.
Awesome. Eric, you got some?
So I don't want to get off of the campaign. I'll save this maybe for later. It was about like legal actions, lawsuits for ballot access, which is important, but that might not necessarily be the strategy right now to make sure that your name's on the ballot.
Right.
Let's assume you do get on the ballot. How long of a campaign season are you going to have once you're on the ballot? And how can we help you raise some money? And what's your plans to do with that money? And how are you going to be able to get that 8%? Very loaded question. Go ahead and attack it.
So last time around, I only spent $2,500 on the entire campaign. That was it. That was all we spent. We didn't even bring in. I did zero fundraising. I I talked to one person, and that was more of like an excuse to talk to them, less about actually getting them to, money, but more like being like, hey, this is what we're doing. But, I wanted to get in touch and talk to them about the campaign, and they did. Then they donated. This time around, I think that especially with the price of gas and trying to get all over the state, which last time around I was driving from where I live down to the metro sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. And I have dairy cows. So like I always had to come home, and like take care of the cows, because I didn't have, we were basically doing that entire campaign on just like gut intuition and faith. That was all we were doing. Just, like
the libertarian way.
Yeah.
It's just we
No
do our
strategy.
figure it out.
Showing up to places, talking to who I could, and that was it. And like I said, we spent $2,500, and that was it. This time around, I'm going to rely, and I didn't really do much with social media. This time around, I'm going to do better at that. But also relying more on a campaign team. I didn't have a campaign team last time around. It was me and one other guy, basically, that were working on this. And this time around, there's going to be a campaign team. I already have people that have committed money to this campaign that far exceeds what I got last time. And there's more of what I've noticed, a kind of, what do I say, like an energy behind the scenes to try and disrupt what I'm doing. We have already had our bank account. I wouldn't say it was, we had a group that tried to donate to our bank account internationally, which I don't really understand, to the tune of thousands of dollars and hundreds of transactions. And the bank rejected all of it because of the countries that it originated from. Mm-hmm. But it makes me wonder, like, there are people that wouldn't happen if people weren't worried. I've already been threatened to have somebody come and like beat me up at my house. I'm like, son, if you can get past the gates, you're not going to get past the German Shepherds, and I can't. Yes. So you're not going to get past me. I
have German Shepherds too. 3 of them.
They're good dogs. Yes. And I've seen one of them like actually you're not going to get past, and I have more than one. So you're not going to get past the German Shepherds. And even if you do, like, I'm going to know about it, and I'm already going to like be, back up
on your tail,
the dogs
strapped up.
Yeah. So, I think that this time around, just truly the I don't want to say purity of the message, but like the simplicity of the message, and really just trying to tap into the anger and the frustration of the people that are around, because there's a lot. That's what it is. I'm not going to mess with any of like the niche social issues. I don't think they matter right now. When you're just struggling to put food on your table and make sure your kids have a future, nothing else. We can argue about all that other stuff after we fix the economy. That's where it's at. So I'm not going to deal with any of the other things.
If you will go, when you win, okay? Because now you have some things that we all go, yeah, we agree with that. And I think most people probably would. The problem is at that point, you become one of 100.
Yeah.
So how do you see yourself getting to DC? Because now you're very much going to be an outcast. Like everything about your lifestyle and what you have going on, the fact that you're third party, everything automatically puts you outside of things.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
How do you get in there and who do you think that you could work with in there to kind of like, okay, let's get some things done?
I don't plan on actually working with anybody. That's not my purpose. My purpose is not going to go in there and prop up the status quo. The benefit of being a libertarian in a sea of Republicans and Democrats is that every political party has to be represented on all of those committees. And so I will get a seat in every single committee in the Senate. And that holds a lot of power, right? Because I don't plan on going in there and just being like, oh, sure, we'll just do that. This is the way we've always done it, blah, blah. Absolutely not. Like, this is, I plan on disrupting the system, not not keeping it going. There's absolutely nothing about the current system that deserves to keep existing. Nothing.
I 100% absolutely nothing. Now, I have to ask you this question. Why do you think Americans default to the uniparty and this is kind of difficult. I pose this to our fandom. Why do Americans have to vote Democrat and Republican? Why do you think they do that?
The majority of people in general, it's not just Americans. This is a human, condition. The majority of people are not your free thinking, independent, capable minds, right? They're just not. And this is why, like, I'm a history buff. I actually minored in history, military history, but besides the point. So when the Revolutionary War was getting started, and it was kind of kicking off years before they actually signed the Declaration of Independence, right? Like, there was a buildup, and then the powder keg exploded. The initial group that sat down and said, hey, we don't like what's going on, we need to do something about it. Do you know how many people that actually was? It was 9 people. So I look at that often, and I think that, if additionally, like, this is part of it too. Nobody prior to the colonies revolting against the British Empire, nobody had actually ever been successful in that endeavor. The US colonies were the first, and it started with 9 people. So, and I think it was only like 3% of the people that were actually in the colonies fought against the Brits, right? So it's not a big percentage. What you need is a small percentage of people that are absolutely committed to the cause to be able to see it through the end. That's what you need. You don't need the masses. You just need them to think that you're the best alternative. And all that takes is a small group of dedicated people and a set of circumstances in which the time has come for the change to just, like, now's the time. I believe that right now in Minnesota, like, this is, we're never going to have this set of circumstances again in our lifetime. So we have to do this now, because it's all kind of just coming to a head. If we pass this up, we're never going to get this again.
The shepherds of liberty. That's what I consider myself. And that's why we engage in this enterprise. I brought Eric and Tub into this enterprise as their shepherd to bring them to the true forefront of the libertarian movement. Because
this is prior just a podcast.
Prior to me,
I wish you told us this sooner.
Yeah, I know.
You
right?
were lost in the wilderness. But yeah, we're coming up on 57 minutes, and Tub has to GO on the dot. So I'm gonna pass his final his final comments and whatnot.
Listen, mine will be simple. Listen, you already know the uphill battle that it's going to be. I love the fact that you didn't run off even after the first one, because you see that a lot inside the party. We run one, we disappear. So it's good that you stayed involved in that overall. And then this one last question thing. If you don't win, what does still success look like?
I wouldn't say it would be in the votes necessarily. Like, I wouldn't say success. Like, that's probably the easiest way to measure, like, how well we did with what we had. But success is forcing the rest of what is happening to alter course because of what we campaigned on and talked on. The fact that I'm going to be running in this campaign, and I will speak on things with authority, especially as a veteran who saw combat in a recent failed war. The other candidates are going to have to address that in a way that they aren't going to be prepared to do, not while we're at a war with Iran, right? So, and I know, like, for the Republican side, they're just gonna take the talking points from Trump. One of them is also a veteran, but he's, sold his soul to the political establishment as a veteran. So it's really easy when you come out and you're like, hey, this is wrong. We shouldn't be doing this. Here's the examples of why. And then also not only bring receipts with you, but like bring real stories of how this hurt people around you. That emotional element of your story that kind of like attaches itself to the campaign is what'll make the difference, because there's a lot of people, they don't want somebody that just, says one thing and does another. What they want is somebody who is real, who they can talk to like another person, but who has, kind of like a character arc. You know what I mean? So like they're looking for somebody to believe in. That's what they're looking for. So the story, kind of that part of the campaign, especially from Iraq, will be pivotal. And I don't remember what your question was. I just went off and like,
no, you're fine. Because it was
No,
what does success look like? You're saying it's not just
it's altering the narrative of the politics from here into the future, especially around Iran. Like this is, I think that surrounding the Iran war, this can only get worse at this point.
So it's the messaging.
Yeah.
When I would say that's a great point too. Like whenever you qualify on the ballot, you'll be forcing the Republican and Democrat candidate, at least in your state, to have to discuss the Iran war, and you'll be bringing it from a veteran's perspective, a combat veteran's perspective.
Yep.
Right. Tub, was that it for you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
All right, bye.
Okay, Tub, bye. I love you.
All right, we'll see y'all later. Thanks, guys.
I love you, Tub. I love you.
I love you, Tub.
I love you.
don't trust you guys at all. Oh my goodness.
Come on. What about?
Oh, by the way, there are no Waffle Houses in Minnesota.
Oh, there you go.
Man.
I'll let Tub know.
So where does the public fight? Yeah.
Hold on.
I gotta ask this question.
I got this one. So
Okay.
You're saying you're going to authorize a bill mandating Waffle House? I'm just kidding. We're not going to force private business.
That actually might be the only legit use of government.
It may be.
Every state needs a Waffle House.
Yeah. Where do Minnesotans fight after 2-3 in the morning at are there any 24-hour eating establishment where you could catch a good fade?
Not where I live. No.
Nothing.
No, I live in a very small town, and it's still the biggest town in the northern half of the state. So.
Oh wow! All right, Eric, you got anything?
Well, I was just gonna kind of do a callback. I am projecting you qualify. You got enough signatures. The government's gonna try some funny business to get you disqualified. Maybe, like you said, through the signature ballot. Or they're gonna paperwork, cross T's, dotted lowercase J's, that sort of thing. Are you willing, if it comes down to it, to fight it legally? And or can you kind of talk back to some of maybe the lawsuits or something maybe the Libertarian Party of Minnesota is willing to do towards ballot access in the future? I know that's kind of not specifically campaign related, but that might be more important than your one campaign.
Well, some of that is a little kind of in the background, and we don't want to be public about it yet.
Understand tracking.
There is. I don't believe in fighting something on just one front. I think that if you're going to take on something, you really have to fight it from all of its weaknesses, and that often means all sides. So you fight something going through the proper way. In this case, this is, being a candidate and getting on the ballot and then speaking out against the very system that you're running for. But then also, the legal action, and that's another, but also legislatively. So those are the three ways that we're doing it. Now with the legal action, there are some things that we are planning on fighting. We're not going to do anything right now to risk getting our candidates, all of us, on the ballot, but that doesn't mean that there's not something heading down towards the future. So the few times that we have taken on the Secretary of State's office, we've actually come out on top, which is kind of nice. They used to make us do all of our petitioning forms on 8.5 by 14 sheets of paper, not the 8.5 by 11. So to be able to get more of those printed, you literally had to go to a specialized place and get them printed.
Jeez.
So we had employed a lawyer and then wrote all this stuff, did all these things. Anyways, the Secretary of State's office now allows us to do petitioning on 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper, that's because of us. So there's a number of other things we're planning on doing, but yeah, for OPSEC, I'm not gonna be completely honest about it at the moment. So
Marcus, that's operational security.
I understand what it was. I play Call of Duty.
For you
Anyway,
civilians.
that's the only time the Nolans accent came out in you tonight was when you said lawyer.
Lawyer.
I've been waiting.
I have been living in Minnesota for a long time. Every once in a while I meet somebody and they're like from the Gulf Coast, the swamps in southern Louisiana. And I'm talking to somebody that's got the accent and just kind of it's right there.
Because my family's from Mobile. We have they have a southern accent, but they're Gulf. The first Mardi Gras was in Mobile. I'm sure Eric knows that.
I knew that.
Right there. Yeah, sure you
do. No, I knew
but
that.
I wanted to say I actually think you're one of them, and there's a lot of libertarians like this, but you have a very personable personality where I think a lot of people can relate to you because you're not looking through people and waiting for your next soundbite or whatever. What I got from you tonight is you're genuine and you're looking at people and speaking to their soul about what government is and what government isn't. Because what I was thinking about earlier when you were talking about how the duopoly changed the system, that's one of I always say there's only 2 or 3 things you can get Democrats and Republicans to agree upon. One is more government power. 2 is not changing the system that brought them to power. And number 3 is war.
Yeah.
Because, those are the things. And will you be accepting any money from any foreign lobbying groups or anything? Because I saw what you wrote on your webpage where, hold on, let me make sure I'm getting this right. I'm sorry. No more entangling alliances.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of Americans are starting to see the light.
I think so too. I can have normal conversations about AIPAC right now with normal people. And that's weird.
Yeah. And not get called a anti whatever, or, that's our greatest ally. Every time I hear people say that's our greatest ally, if there was the allies were in a room, I would immediately look over at Great Britain and say, hey, they say that's our greatest ally right there. Damn the Anglo-Saxon foundation of this country, so to speak. That's our greatest ally right there. And I never understood why. But, that's neither here nor there. But we're going to start wrapping this up. In closing, do you have a closing statement before we get to your social media contacts and all of that stuff from you?
Sure. My commitment to doing all of this is doing it the right way, not taking, if we have to go without the money and just not have the funding, that's the way we're going to do it. I have rejected any PACs, especially AIPAC, right?
Yeah.
That's the top of the list. There will be, and this is like the purity test for me. There just will be no money, and we'll go without it with just elbow grease if we need to. But there will be no money coming from PACs. We will not accept it. And that, any of these big groups that are like, hey, we'll donate to your campaign, but absolutely not. I'm just not going to take the money. I'm not going to compromise myself in a way, or my principles in a way that would make this all fall apart. We're either going to do this the right way, or we're not going to do it at all. And if we do it the right way and that we still end up, with less than favorable circumstances, then now is just not the time where people were willing to listen. And I'm willing to accept that too. That doesn't mean that like I come out of this and there is no, game plan or plan B or plan C. There still is going to be other things to do, even if that means that the system itself fails, collapses, and what we have left to do is just endure it. That's what that means. But I'm fully prepared to go that route too. That's partially why we have a farm. Like we do stuff in a way that's like, helps us become and be more independent. So I believe that if there was a set of circumstances where we could actually do really well and people were more willing to listen to the libertarian in the room, like now's the time, so, and that it's got to get pretty bad for us to be the voice of reason in a sea of, like just people who don't actually think about much beyond what is right in front of them. But I think that most libertarians, none of us are like that. We see the bigger picture. We see kind of how, the long-term effects of immediate decisions, especially revolving around the war. That's going to be my biggest thing and my big concern right now. The economy as the result of what happens in the war is secondary. But we can't fix the economy while still engaging in the war. That's got to end first. And not just this war, but like all the other wars in the future. Yeah, it's the culture of never-ending wars has to end. That has to be first. And then we can fix the economy. And then we can deal with everybody's niche social issues once all that other stuff happens. But for this is a long-term endeavor for me. This isn't something that's going to be fixed. The problems didn't exist overnight. It's also not going to be fixed overnight. Right. So like I said, like same as kind of the Revolutionary War and the irony that we're in the 250th year and having to rekindle old ideas, but they're old ideas that work because they're timeless. That's just going to be what we do right now. And I'm fully prepared for all of it.
I just wanted to point out, based on one of your points you made, that we were told there was no longer going to be these wars leading in.
A lot of people bought into that lie.
Yeah. And I just want Americans to take a step back for a second and just really remember, if at all possible, remember what you were told by this current administration. Remember what you were told by the previous administration. And you could do that on and on and on, going back a little while. Remember all the things they told you and look at what was actually realized. And that's why you need to vote Libertarian. If for anything, a third person on that stage is going to make the duopoly have to give you honest messaging under the threat that they will lose your vote. So that's what I would implore Americans to do, and take a good look at Rebecca's campaign. Eric, you had something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to offer some really fun campaign advice. Whenever you make your first video, you could do video of you on your farm and you're milking one of your cows, and it pans to you and you say, "Are you tired of the federal government milking you dry?" And then it goes to you shoveling, if you have bulls on your farm.
I do.
Bull crap. And you say, "Are you tired of the federal government's BS?" And you throw it, like on / towards camera. And then if you have chickens, I don't know if you do.
I do.
You could say, "Are you finally tired of the foxes guarding the hen house?" If so, boom, there you go. I just wrote that for you. You're welcome.
Man, I have after we get off here, I'm going to go out because you got to milk cows twice a day, right? So I'm going to go milk them for a second time today. And I have a tin pail sitting right next to my milk stand. And it would be very easy for me to just go get a shovel and like shoot some of that into that bucket. Like, here's a bucket full of government promises,
There you go.
Yeah. That's what it is.
I mean, you got all this amazing content, and then of course you could do your Second Amendment videos on the farm and all that stuff. So I'm really looking forward to you qualifying. And I know you said this time you're going to do a little more with social media. If you make some good campaign videos, we'll share them on our social medias. We'll put them up here. We'd like, if you have time in your campaign, to come back and celebrate you and the other 2 statewide candidates qualifying for ballot access. If we can get Joe Hanoush, and if you're willing, we'd like to have you on and celebrate and boost you and y'all's campaigns in the great state of Minnesota. It's a
great state,
right? Yeah,
right. So we're gonna put up Rebecca's link again, and this is the important one. This is whitingforsenate.us/donate. That's the link that everybody needs to click. Click
the link.
Yeah, click the link. And it has different denominations, but give what you can. I mean, this is the time. If I thought we had a great opportunity in 2024, but we had some sabotage going on in our midst. But now I said this at the California convention, we're almost effectively starting over as a party, because the number of votes we lost to RFK Jr. and his brainworm in the last general election and in the popular vote. So we got to start all over. We have to clean this slate and bring libertarianism back to the forefront of its founding principles: individual liberty, free markets, all that good stuff. So we would like and ask everybody who can donate. And if you can't donate, share. If you can't share, talk to somebody, your neighbor, somebody at the grocery store about the Libertarian Party. There's a lot of ways to help this enterprise move forward. And we want to encourage you all to do so, because if you're not pissed off about the way things are right now, you're either extremely rich or stupid. There's no in between in that, because here in the 4th largest economy in the world, I went by a gas station just because I was on E, and it was $6. I was like, okay, I'm gonna put a couple bucks in here and drive to the cheaper gas station. And that's literally what I did today. And then I bought ribeye steaks yesterday. It was 2 steaks, $36.
Oh, that's about to get worse.
And it's a lot of Americans don't understand that.
The cost of burger calves right now are $2,000 plus a piece, and you used to be able to get them for $200.
Yeah. Americans don't understand. Our beef herd is at almost an all-time low right now, and it's only getting worse. And to the Iran war stuff, the longer this goes on, the more oil gets shut down, the longer it's going to take to ramp that back up, as like it did during COVID. When you were complaining about Joe Biden's high prices, this could far exceed that. The way this is going, because it has that trickle-down effect, because that's where a very large portion of your fertilizer comes from if you're not an organic person, but like most farms in the United States. But all of that stuff, it's about to have a compounding effect on your life.
Yeah.
And this is the time to elect people like Rebecca Whiting, who knows your pain and what you go through and understands the basic level of farming to table issues. This is the time to elevate people like Rebecca Whiting for Senate in the great state of Minnesota. Eric, do you have anything else?
Just wanted to say thanks for coming on the podcast. I hope we were able to help out your campaign some way, even if it's just hilarious ideas for funny campaign videos. But seriously, I hope it's more. I hope it's more than that. I hope you end up getting some donations, maybe some volunteers, help from National Party, help from state party volunteers in your state. But this was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Rebecca, National Party did share this on Facebook and on X. So awesome. They got behind you. Can you tell the people where they can find you?
I am on Facebook, and if you look up my name, Rebecca Whiting, it's a picture of a painting. So, anyways, but you'll like scroll down, you can tell it's me. So I'm on Facebook. I have an X account. I don't do much with it, but it's Bemidji Becca or Bemidji Rebecca. Sorry. So BMIDJI. It's Native American. So most people can't pronounce it that don't live here. But that's my X account's name. And then, yeah, so it's pretty much social media. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me, those two places, Facebook and X.
All right. And then we have the website, whitingforsenate.us.
Yep.
I like to say /donate because that's the important stuff. As we say here on the Black Powder podcast, put your money where your memes are. Don't just be an edgelord. Help a brother or a sister out and kick in, bro. That's what we need to do. Stop being about the BS and let's go. All right. All right.
Yep.
With that being said, this has been the Black Powder podcast. We want to truly thank Rebecca. Our live studio audience, we got over 700 people watching right now. You know, that's pretty good for us. We actually get most of our streaming on the back end. You know, you can expect 25 to 10,000, whatever it is. But thank you very much, Rebecca. I look forward to following your campaign because if you come off, well, not come off because you actually did, but you're a very genuine person, and I appreciate that because, you know, enough with the government BS. Let's make this a republic again. So we always say on our podcast as we close out, live free
or die.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, that was a nice pause there. Here comes the pause at the end of the stream.